The broadcast of the regular Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting will now begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this live broadcast of our virtual meeting today, June 25th, 2020. This meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota statutes section 13D.021 due to the declared local health pandemic. For the record, my name is Matt Perry and I'm chair of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. I'll now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so that we may verify the presence of quorum.
Cooper. Here. Finlayson.
Aye.
Hutchins.
Here.
Johannesson. Ogiba.
Here.
Perry.
Here.
Sandberg.
Here.
Softly.
Aye.
Wang.
Here.
That's 8 board members. Thank you.
Okay, we have quorum. Thank you. With that, we will proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's legislative information management system, available at LIMS, lims.minneapolismn.gov. Is there a motion to approve this agenda?
So moved. Finlayson.
Second, Sandberg.
There is a motion to approve and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Cooper.
Aye.
Finlayson.
Aye.
Hutchins.
Aye.
Ogiba.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Sandberg.
Yes.
Softly.
Aye.
Wang.
Aye.
That's 8 yeas. Thank you.
That motion passes and the agenda is approved. I believe all the board members have seen a copy of the minutes from the July 11th, 2020 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Finlayson.
Second, Sandberg.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Cooper.
I abstain.
Finlayson.
Aye.
Hutchins.
Abstain also.
Thank you. Thank you both. Ogiba.
Yes.
Perry.
Aye.
Sandberg.
Aye.
Softly.
Aye.
Wang.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 6 yay.
Okay, that motion passes and the minutes from the Zoning Board of Adjustment June 11th, 2020 meeting are approved. Mr. Ellis, are there any petitions or communications?
Yes, Chair Perry, members of the board, there are 2 communications this evening. There were 2 appeals out of the May 21st, 2020 Board of Adjustment hearing. Those were expected to be heard already, but due to an issue, they ended up being continued to the July 14th BIZ meeting, the Business Inspections and Zoning Committee of the City Council. So I will give an update on that as to what happened at that time. However, those 2 items for the board's knowledge are 4736 and through 4740 Grand Avenue South, which was the appeal of the decision of the zoning administrator that that was not a minor change. The applicant has appealed that. And then also on 525 10th Avenue Southeast, which was a variance for parking, which was denied by the board, upholding staff recommendation. That has also been appealed to council. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ellis. Are there any questions of staff? I see none. And so let's move on to our land use and appeals agenda. We have one item on the agenda. This is 4126 Upton Avenue South, and this is a discussion item. I'll just quick say what discussion items are. These are items for which the board will take public testimony, deliberate on, and make a decision. After the public testimony has been heard for each particular discussion item, I will close the public hearing for that agenda item. And once I close the public hearing for an item, no additional public testimony will be taken, but staff may be asked to address board questions. After the public hearing for an item is closed, board members will then discuss and act on motions, and the chair only votes in the case of a tie. And so we have, again, as I said, agenda item number 5, 4126 Upton Avenue South. And so let's begin with that item. I believe that's Mr. Liska.
Good afternoon, Chair, board members. Again, this application before you is an appeal of the zoning administrator's determination, specifically the determination that pool equipment is not akin to HVAC equipment. HVAC, heating, venting, air conditioning. The appellant recently began construction on the new home located at 4126 Upton Avenue South. The plans include an in-ground pool to the rear. During the permitting process, the applicant proposed the pool equipment in the side yard and was told this location would require a variance. The appellant relocated the pool equipment to a location that was permitted. The plans were approved both by zoning and CCS building code plan review. Table 535-1 is the permitted obstructions table, permitted obstructions in required yards. And these are very specific as far as what is allowed. Included in 535-1 is air conditioning systems, heating, ventilating, and filtering equipment. These are all permitted obstructions in the interior side yard. There are some size limitations, can't be taller than 5 feet. No portion of the permitted obstructions table includes anything about pools, required walkways, pool equipment, and thus none of that is located or is permitted in required yards. The zoning administrator's determination on this is based on the fact that heating, venting, air conditioning, these are all essential for homes to remain habitable throughout the entire year. Pool equipment is associated with an accessory use and serves functionally a different purpose. It filters water instead of filtering air. Pool equipment is not akin to heating, venting, air conditioning, and with this, staff recommends denial of the appeal of the zoning administrator. I'll be here for questions. The appellant is also present.
Thank you, Mr. Liska. Before we take board questions of you, I want to go through some procedural notes, both for the board and for the people speaking from the general public, including the appellant. Appeals of the zoning administrator are not variances. They are also, in some of the written testimony that we have received suggests that it is a variance, but this is not a variance, it's an appeal of the zoning administrator. They're also not determinations on whether to grant non-conforming use certificates. The board's job is narrowly defined to determine whether the zoning administrator correctly interpreted and administered the current provisions of the zoning ordinance that are subject of the appeal. Furthermore, it's not the board's responsibility to determine whether the zoning ordinance is correct or should be changed. We are not a policy-making body. In this particular case, we are addressing a narrowly defined technical issue. Did the zoning administrator correctly determine that pool equipment is not a permitted obstruction in a required yard? As a matter of due process, the appellant is afforded broad latitude in the testimony they provide to make their case. However, since written testimony has been provided for the record, this body will ask the appellant to be respectful of the amount of time they use in providing their testimony today. The same broad latitude in testimony provided applies only to the appellant. It is not afforded to others testifying who are not the appellant or a member of the appellant's team. If I feel the public testimony or board member questions or comments are straying for the aforementioned purpose, I will interrupt the speaker and ask them to address the decision before this body. So with that, I will open the public hearing, and I believe the appellant is in queue to speak.
Mr. Back, if you're in the queue to speak, if you would please press *6 to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This is Adam Back. I'm the appellant. I work for Streeter Custom Builder. We're building this home for Mr. and Mrs. Cohen. Mr. Cohen, I believe, is also on the call today. I understand that we're not here to discuss any matters such as a variance, and that this is an appeal of the decision by the zoning administrator. It seems clear to us by our reading of the code that Mr. Liska referenced that heating and filtering equipment is allowed in the side yard setback, and that's exactly what this equipment is. It's heating and filtering equipment for the pool. I've prepared some other documents that illustrate the location of the equipment, as well as some photographs of the property if they're helpful. But by and large, we believe that the zoning code does allow for the equipment in our proposed equipment location A, which is where we would like to install that pool equipment.
Do you have any further testimony to provide?
I have no further testimony, assuming that you've read the application or the letter that I sent and have reviewed the documents. I'm here to field any other questions you may have as well. And Mr. Jeremy Cohen, the owner on my team, may also wish to speak at this time if he may.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure people had a chance to ask questions of you, Mr. Back. So are there questions of Mr. Back? I'm not seeing any from the board, so let's move on. Would anybody else like to speak in favor of this appeal? And I think, Mr. Cohen, you are one of the people who would like to speak in favor of the appeal. And again, you have to press *6 to unmute your phone.
Yes, thank you. This is Jeremy Cohen. I appreciate everyone's time this afternoon. I think Adam laid out, I think, kind of how we read the situation. I would just kind of reiterate that as the homeowners, we've been very diligent through this process. We felt like that this certainly fits within the guidelines of our understanding of the situation, and also is, from our perspective, the best solution for our home, but also for our neighborhood and the location of it, and kind of meets what we think is a good solution. So we appreciate your time, and also happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Cohen? I see none. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the appeal? Is there anybody in the queue who would like to speak against the appeal? I'm hearing no one, unless you are getting hung up by not pressing star 6 on your phone. So with that, I will close the public hearing.
Sorry,
Oh.
Chair. There is somebody in the queue. One of the neighbors just emailed me now. Jesus Cabrera said that he was waiting in line to be admitted.
Oh,
So I'm not sure if he's here or in queue.
I see his name in queue, but we're not hearing him.
If I, Chair Perry, if I may address this, we don't see him in the lobby, the digital lobby for the meeting. So we're looking into that currently. If he can keep trying, if it would be all right with you to try and get his testimony at your pleasure, Chair Perry.
Sure. Let's give it a couple of minutes. Mr. Liska, was it you who were saying he's trying to get in?
That's correct, Chair. He just emailed me during this meeting. So yeah, he said he was waiting in the, let me read the email here. He's waiting in line, waiting to be admitted to the meeting. So I'm not sure if Rachel sees anything on her end. No.
I'm afraid at this point I don't see anyone else in the queue. Is there possibly a contact number we could call him at to try and get him into the meeting?
Let me follow up with him.
Thank you.
I do want to give everyone an opportunity to speak, but I also want to make sure that we move the meeting along here.
Let me throw this phone number in the meeting chat quick. This is from the neighbor who wished to speak.
Mr. Liska, I presume that's for, you said it was Jesus
Any other number waiting to get
Cabrera,
in.
right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll pass that along to our team here that's supporting the meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Invite.
Hello?
Oh.
Mr. Cabrera,
Hello?
is that you?
This is me, Jesus Cabrera, yes.
So Dustin is calling him right now.
Would you, are you interested in speaking in favor or against the appeal?
I am against the appeal.
Okay, please go ahead and give your testimony.
Yes. I am at 4120 Upton Avenue South. I am adjacent to that property. Presently, we have, I understand from what was summarized that before construction started, that this was requested to be placed on the north side of the property and was denied. They were permitted to place it within their plans. They now want to place it on the outside. It's on the same side where the HVAC is presently, which we get to hear continuously as we all deal with this in Minneapolis. But to have another device causing noise pollution that will be continuous at least throughout the summer and perhaps throughout the year as the pool is being used or not used seems to be an encumbrance that we're not really looking forward to. With the onset of COVID, there's a lot of our work that's now being done within the home. It will presumably become a new normal, and having this noise pollution that will pour over our house continuously seems a little bit much. Additionally, as our time outside in our backyard and on our porch in a sanctuary that we call Linden Hills, to have that interrupted continuously by another device seems a bit excessive. Excessive, especially since this has been planned, permitted, and allowed to be built within their home, so it can be controlled and not invading other neighbor spaces. My wife and I both are physicians. She presently is doing telemedicine and is treating, interviewing, and speaking with patients' parents as well as the patients at home. And that's just a new reality that we're going to have as COVID moves forward. That's certainly true in my occupation in medical device as well. I'm sorry, you had a question?
I was just wondering if you had anything else to add, which you did. And so I will ask you now if you have any further comments that you'd like to provide.
I think that entails it. I mean, I think they have planned and budgeted for this. It shouldn't have any substantial change in their plan and budget since it has been already successfully been permitted to be done. So to have this change, it shouldn't, if it's denied, won't have any real significance to cost or plan. Thank you.
All right, thanks for your testimony, and thanks for your persistence in working with our virtual meeting technology.
No worries. It's a new time we work in. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, I think that's all that we have for people who are interested in speaking. So I am going to close the public hearing. Board comment.
Chair Perry, John Finlayson. I think staff has correctly analyzed and correctly gone through the process of delineating what type of obstructions are permitted and which are not. And I think it's quite clear that the request is for something that is not permitted. I'm in favor of staff's position, but I'd like to hear from my fellow board members. Thank you.
Thanks for those comments. Mr. Sandberg.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Perry. I also agree with the zoning administrator. I think the fact that the ordinance includes the word heating and filtration does not fit with the intent of the ordinance that includes air conditioning and ventilation. It's obviously an ordinance directed towards living space and not auxiliary recreational equipment. Thank you.
Thanks for those comments. Board Member Cooper.
I always struggle with these cases, but I think that I agree with the zoning administrator that the pool equipment is akin to HVAC. I think that it functions the same way, and not that it makes the same exact noise because it's not the same kind of machinery as HVAC, but I think it's noise and I think it's reasonable to expect noise when you live in a place such as Minneapolis. So I think I'm agreeing with the zoning administrator, and I recommend approving the appeal decision, upholding the appeal decision. I think that's what I'm.
So the zoning administrator denied the request that it be akin to HVAC. And so the appellant is asking us to appeal that decision. So it sounds like you are in favor of the appellant's position that it is like HVAC.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks for those comments. Any other comments? With that, I would entertain a motion.
This is Sandberg. I recommend that we approve the staff recommendation.
And deny the appeal.
And deny the appeal, correct?
Okay. Is there a second for that motion?
This is Finlayson, second.
Finlayson has seconded the motion, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Cooper,
No.
Finlayson,
Aye.
Hutchins,
Aye.
Ogiba,
Yes.
Sandberg,
Aye.
Softly,
Aye.
Wang.
Aye.
That's 6 yay, 1 nay.
So that motion passes and the appeal is denied. Mr. Back and Mr. Cohen, you can talk to the staff member assigned to this project to see what your options are going forward. Mr. Ellis is indicating there's no new or old business. And does anybody else have any new or old business? So with that, we've completed all the items on our agenda for this meeting. And if there isn't any objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned.
Chair Perry, if I may interrupt, it appears Board Member Cooper has a comment.
Oh, sure.
I just wanted to sort of query if there has been discussion about us rejoining the meetings back in City Hall, and if that decision is tied to the declared emergency, or is there some other momentum that'll be around that decision when we need to start showing back up in the City Hall?
So I would defer to Mr. Ellis on this. He and I have not had any conversations about what the timetable is, but I will defer to him with details.
The Chair Perry, Board Member Cooper, there isn't a specific timeline outlined yet. The clerk's office is always considering everything. As I understand it now, it's currently through August with more decisions to be made as we go forward. As things change, we'll definitely keep the board apprised of any situation, keep the public apprised of any situation. But right now, there's we're going to be virtual for at least the next 2 or 3 hearings.
Got it. Thank you.
Or 3 or 4. Thank you.
Yes, and Ms. Blanford, I don't have, one of the things I didn't do is put down when our next meeting date is. Could you let us all know when that is?
Yes, our next meeting will be July 9th.
July 9th. Very good. So with that, thank you, everyone, and thanks for your time and patience working with our virtual technology. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.